The other day I gave my daughter an apple. She said she preferred pears, so I gave her another one. Hey kids, Adam here. Today we're going to talk about Ezdrummer 2 and Reaper. Been wanting to do this video for a while. I owe my buddy David Cho a video on this, and today is the day I'm going to do this. So we're going to talk about how the basic use of Ezdrummer and Reaper, some of the extra features that are in Ezdrummer 2, how to do some sample replacements, how to get it set up so you can do things like parallel compression and all of that. So I know a lot of you guys use some kind of drum sampling program. Ezdrummer 2 is pretty popular. I know there's some Slate digital drums, there's Get Good drums, there's probably a number of other ones. I have only used the Ezdrummer and then now Ezdrummer 2. I used Superior Drummer a little bit, but kind of prefer for the things that I do Ezdrummer 2. So let's head over to Reaper and I will show you how I use this program and what it does for me. All right, here we are in Reaper, just a blank project. I'm going to show you a couple ways on how to get Ezdrummer 2 onto a track. So the first thing you can do, right click to insert new track or Control T and go down here and either hit the FX button here, or one of these open slots, type in Easy and double click on Ezdrummer. Now this will bring up the main interface. It's cool drums. From here, all it's going to do is a stereo track on your track that you have selected, but because we added it as an effect, nothing is set up as far as routing or recording or anything like that. So let's delete this track. And if we right click here and do insert virtual instrument on new track, and then again, choose Ezdrummer, what this is going to do is this is going to first set up all your MIDI as your input source. It's going to set it up to record enable, and it will bring up and ask you this question, which is pretty important. Do you want to use a stereo? If you no, it'll just do 2 tracks, or if you want to do all of the tracks and you hit yes. For now, I'm just going to hit no. What this will do is this will create a stereo track. We still have the same drum kit, but you notice the meter is now going when I click drums. You also notice it's really loud. So one of the things I do is I take this down by 3 dB or so that it just doesn't overpower and clip the bus. From here, there's a lot of different things you can do in Ezdrummer. You can, play around with the different sounds. There's, a number of different snares on this kit. This is just the default modern basic kit. Each drum has a number of different choices you can do for sounds, different cymbals, different things like that. There's, all sorts of fun stuff. So one of the things I use a lot is the browser, because a lot of the times I'm just looking for some sort of MIDI pattern that I want to either jam to on bass, or I'm looking for kind of a specific thing. So I'll go into the browser here. Let's choose this modern vintage. We'll do like a, we don't want to do Latin. Let's do mid-tempo pop verse. This should be pretty straightforward. Here's just the basic drum beat. What I can do then is I can take and drag this into the project, and it'll show up as MIDI notes, and I can click and drag this out. If I want to edit this at all, if I go play this, let's say I don't like that first crash cymbal. If I double click on it, it'll bring up the piano roll here, and I can go back, find the crash, and just delete it. And now when I play it, some of the times when I have a part working on bass, I know the kind of drum beat that I want. So there's a really cool feature in here. It's called the tap to find. If you go to the search tab, click tap to find, it starts playing a click, and then you can tap on the drums to put your pattern in. Let's say we want a snare kick pattern, And you can quantize it however you want. Let's say I wanted to do more of a 16th note thing. Close enough. If I hit show results, then it'll go through my MIDI library, whatever I have, and this depends on what packs you've purchased or what kits you've purchased, and add it to Ezdrummer, and it will come up with a number of MIDI patterns. It'll have a percentage of how close it is to the pattern you typed out. So then we hit play here, and that's what I actually meant to put in there. And then again, like the other MIDI, you can click and drag this in here, and you have your pattern. Very useful feature. I don't think a lot of people use this. I think a lot of people just program their own. For me, when I'm coming up with a part, I don't really care about a lot of the details on drums because I have a drummer in my band that's going to do that for me. I just want a basic starting point for a pattern, and this seems to work really well. Now from there, you may ask, like, how do I record drums if I want to just record a pattern of my own? Now, I'm not sure if there's something I'm doing wrong, but there's no way within Reaper's own record that you can hit record and then click on drums and then have it show up. There's just a blank MIDI file here. What you can do is you can use Ezdrummer's record, and it's almost the same thing. You go in, you hit record, as soon as you play it starts, and then you hit stop. It puts the pattern into Ezdrummer, but then you can just click and drag this into Reaper. And then there you have your pattern. Another way to do this, you can use the MIDI keyboard, virtual MIDI keyboard in Reaper. And if you could do View, you go to Virtual MIDI Keyboard or Alt-B, it brings up this keyboard. Now you notice there's a bunch of notes here, and well, that sounds really cool. I have no idea what drum is what. So if you go into one of these drums, let's do the kick drum here, do this little down arrow, go to Details. The key is here, so this is going to be C1, which is not correct. Or if you go to hit this, it'll change the note. It's number 36, which Reaper seems to be one octave off for all of its MIDI. I don't know why, but it just is. So you know that the 36 or the R on the keyboard is going to be the kick drum. If we go to snare, there's a couple more options. There is a center snare of 38, which is just your standard hit. And then in this keyboard, if you go up the note, it changes the velocity. Rim shot is 40, it does the same thing. And then the stick click, or side stick they call it, is 37, which is this black key here. Even though it's not numbered, that's what the key is. So if you wanted to do a pattern, you could do something like that on your keyboard. I won't get into interfaces. I have a little MIDI keyboard over the side. I have this little Korg thing with little patterns on it. I can plug the drum set in. Each of those is going to be different. Consult your manual, or maybe somebody else has a video out for the exact same piece of gear you have. But you can essentially put your keyboard in and plug out a pattern on your keyboard and play drums with it. From there, how do we get like a real kit so we can mix this in a real way? I'm going to delete this track again. We're going to go back to right-clicking on and do virtual instrument on this track, choose Ezdrummer. This time I'm going to yes. You notice it's going to put all these channels out here. What you'll notice is that each one should have its own little spot. If you go into the mixer here, and some people do use the mixer in Ezdrummer, and that's how they mix. I prefer to do everything in Reaper. So what I want to do is I want to get these all routed so that each channel is a channel in Reaper, or a track. The thing you need to do here is on this bottom drop down, you need to change this for whatever track you have. Because right now they're just listed EZ1, EZ2, EZ3. EZ1 is track 1 here. But if we go back to, let's just do the browser and pick a pattern here. To a verse. You'll notice it's only coming through track 1 here. So if we go to the mixer, we choose the drop downs, and we choose, each output here. And I'm just going to go. Let's get a better beat here and drag this in so we can show you what it's doing now. What you want to do when you drag it in is drag it onto the Ezdrummer channel itself and not any of these individual channels. Ezdrummer, as you can see here, has everything routed out, and you can take care of the routing there. So now if I play it, it should show up on more than one track. Now you'll notice in the mixer here, when I play it again, it's only going up to track 8. So what I can do in my mixer is just take, it's going to actually be track 9 because it's offset by 1, and delete these out because I'm not going to use them. And then I can go through and I can really quick, name these. And we have all of our tracks named. One thing you want to do, you'll notice when I play this, changing the master volume on the track doesn't do anything on the main Ezdrummer track. So what I do is I create a new folder. I just call it drums. And then I click this little button over here to make it a folder. And now this folder controls all the volume for the drum set. And now I can process any of the channels the way I want to. I can put all my effects directly onto, like, say, the kick channel. And then if I want to do anything for a top-down mixing, like I want to put EQ and compression on my drum bus, which I do a lot, I can do that on this drums folder itself. And that way I won't be messing with any of the routing, any of the Ezdrummer stuff, any of the MIDI, anything like that. So that's how I do that. There are a couple extra tracks in here. You notice there's this ambience. It's kind of like a room mic. I think that's what they meant to have it be, because there's 2 overheads in stereo, and then there's this ambient track. There is a parallel compression track in Ezdrummer. I found it to be fairly light compression, and you can't control it other than the overall volume. And then there is a room reverb for the drum set here. So that's nice to have. Let's dive into how I use this in some of my projects. All right, I have a project here. This is a parody cover that I made for one of my other passions, which is Milwaukee Wave and indoor soccer. The league was about to change a rule, which they ended up doing. I wrote a parody song about it. You may recognize this song.
1, don't you chase that rule. 2, don't you chase that rule. 3, don't you chase that rule. No! Let the going take the ball. Let the going.
What I did for this is I actually did use the MIDI piano roll. I don't want to play it because I don't want this video to get blocked or anything, but I have the original song that was on the recording, and it's really, really close to being time aligned. Yay, time aligned. So what I did is I just went into the piano roll and I wrote in the notes based on the original drum pattern. I got it pretty close. I got some of these tom notes in here. Solo out the drums. I got it to sound pretty good. So if I do the kit alone and I mute, let's say I mute all of these sends. That's just the basic kit. I left the ambience on, I left the reverb on, I took the compression track off. And this is just the basic modern default kit that you get that was in when Ezdrummer first came up. This kit. This is just a basic kit. I left it on basic, didn't change any. There's a bunch of different settings you can do in here. I didn't use any of these. I just left it on my own. I processed on my own. Did not use a room mic, did not use really anything unique other than this thing. And then I processed them the way I normally process drums. What I wanted to do though is I wanted to add a parallel compression track. So if I bring this parallel compression track up, I'm still using Waves plugins. You saw my last video, and I'll put a card up here for why I'm leaving Waves. I'm not going to go back and update all my projects, so a lot of these things will be Waves plugins here. I just have a HLS channel, SSL native compression, and EQ just to roll off some highs and lows, and then a limiter just to kind of chop everything off. If I solo out just the parallel drum track here, what I've done is I've routed the kick, the snare, and the toms to the parallel drum track. I did them, if you click on one of these, I did them as pre-fader sends because I want the original process sound at the fully gain stage, or however Ezdrummer does it, levels rather than my fader levels, which may change that. Now, what I will do sometimes is I will change the level of the send so that when I go into the compressor, everything is, and let me get into a different section here. I want everything to be hitting the compressor at the same level. You'll see I didn't do a good job of it because the kick is hitting probably 18 dB of gain reduction. The snare is only about 12. Normally what I'll do is I will lower the kick so that everything's hitting the same amount. But this sounded good when I routed to it, so I just decided to leave it at that. So I know, David, you've been asking about parallel compression on Ezdrummer. This is how I do it. I don't route it from the drum bus itself because I don't want the cymbals to splash in there. In fact, let me edit this a little bit. Now I should have just the kit as a whole routed there with parallel compression. And that's really annoying because it's bringing in all of the hi-hat, and when it gets to the crashes, it's going to bring in the crashes. I'd much rather have just the drums themselves. And then when I have the drum set in, I'm going to pull the fader all the way down here. All I do is I pull up the fader till it sounds pretty good to me, to my ears. So this is a heavier song, so I'm okay with adding some volume when I do parallel compression. Most of the times you don't. You just want to add that body and that depth and that punch without really adding volume because you don't want your ears to trick you. But since I want this to be a more aggressive sound, I'm definitely adding some volume with parallel compression here. All right, here is the song Get Up by my band Underground Hive. I will leave a card here for this song. Check it out. Let me know what you think. This is one of the first ones that we really recorded, and as a result, I've mentioned overall that I've done as I learn techniques and learn tips and tricks and get my mixing better, get more experience, I add things on. So you'll see there's the drum mix is nowhere near where it is now, but I wanted to use this as an example. I did some replacements for the toms here using Ezdrummer. So let me play you just the original toms. I warn you, these don't sound good. They're weak. They're go to another section here. They're cardboard, boxy sounding. They're not tuned all that great. This is like I said, this is in the infancy of recording. I think we finished the song in 2015 and mixed it not soon thereafter. You know, it was rough. I mean, again, listen. So I tried working on them. I tried, EQing them and figured, we'll just leave them in there. But I decided this song needed some real beef to the toms. And in fact, let's play just the kit alone. A lot of things missing in this drum mix. No room mic. It's really dry. So then when I have Ezdrummer on and everything's done, I'll show you that in a second. This is what the toms sound like instead. Much better. And then it mixes in with the kit really well. And I can add those, I can EQ them as a drum bus, and they're going to sound much better and more part of the kit. They're going to sound better than most of the other kit, but that's besides the point. So the first thing I do is I want to create a track for each tom. You can do this with one Ezdrummer track, but I wanted more control over each individual hit. So I created Easy D high tom, Easy D mid tom, Easy D low tom, and then you want to route each of your individual tom tracks to this. So I routed, high tom to this, mid tom to that, low tom to that. Then you want to put Ezdrummer on each of your tracks. Now here I'm using this Funkmaster Clyde kit. I didn't like the sounds of the more rock and metal toms. I wanted more of a funk sound. I thought these sounded great. So what I wanted to do once I get everything figured out, do the trick that I showed you earlier, do the drop down arrow here, go to details, make sure this says note, and you'll see the center tom hit is number 48 for the high tom. And you want to get that for each of these drums. So it's 47. And then for the floor tom, it is 43. Make a note of what those numbers are, or leave this up or whatever you want to do, because you need that. Then on each individual tom itself, the original toms, you want to gate these, or you want to trigger these to send them to Ezdrummer. There's a number of ways to do this. I like to do it with regates. And what I do is I get the gate set up. So I get I leave the defaults for everything. I get the threshold set up so that it's triggering this. So if I go to just this one tom here on the high tom, I just want to make sure the hit is hitting it. And then I check this send MIDI on open close to number 48, because that was the number that we found for the drum. The last thing I do, some people will mix the wet and dry. I thought these sounded bad enough that I didn't want to mix anything at all. What you can do is you can mix the wet and dry, or you can use the faders. All I do is I just pull the faders all the way down. And then I'll bring re-EQ and I'll add that to the track, and I'll bring in either a high pass filter with a lower bandwidth, so it'll actually create this boost. You see this is in there, and that's not a separate setting. And I'll do like a cut for where I find like a boxy or extra rings or something like that. And I'll do just a high pass filter way up top to get any of the extra ringy or hiss or anything like that out of there. Really don't need a lot of EQ in these things because they sound really good by themselves. From there, I just mix the toms as I would any other drum. And I process them as any other drum. I usually don't do extra compression on them because these have a lot of compression, and they're recorded really well, and it's only a single hit. So if there were maybe multiple different hits or different velocities I needed in there, I might do compression to kind of even them out. But for these one hits, I really leave them in there and just leave it the same. I add it to my room reverb. I then process the drums on the drum bus itself. And that's really it. That's all I do for sample replacement. I've done this on snare, I've done it on kick, and toms are really the three that I use them on the most. And if we play it with just the whole song playing, I think it sounds really natural. I did not use the default kit. I used this, funk kit that I purchased as an add-on, and I think it sounds kind of great. And the last thing I want to show you is some percussion. You see on the normal kit here, there is like a hand clap, or there's snaps. There's also, because you can never have too much cowbell. There's also like a shaker, and there's also a tambourine. We use some of that. There's also a Latin percussion kit, which I picked up because I love bongo sounds. So we have this part in the song where it's kind of like an a cappella breakdown. And my drummer insisted on actually playing a tambourine into a microphone. So we have that. But in the second half of it, we have some tambourine, we have some snaps, and then we have bongos. Take a listen to that.
Everybody get up, everybody get up, everybody get up, everybody get down, everybody get up, everybody get up, everybody get up, everybody get down, everybody dance to the rhythm, we're gonna ride in the rhythm, everybody.
So for that, I'll bring up just the snaps here. This is the Latin percussion set. It has all sorts of cool stuff. Just go crazy with it. What I did is I layered snaps in, so I have 100% left, I did 100% right for panning. And I just did the group snaps here. And actually, this is on every kit. It doesn't even have to be in the Latin kit. This is just the standard note. And in fact, if you go into the details and do note, it's hit number 1. So I use that. And then for the bongos, I did this Latin percussion. And that is this track here. And I did basically the same thing I did when I first started the video, you know, 2 hours ago or whatever it's been. If you go into the Latin percussion section of the browser, there's congas, cajones, bongos, the udu, the shaker, all sorts of neat stuff. And I believe what I used were the congas instead of the bongos. I call them bongos because you hit stuff with your hand, it's bongos. But I did one of these patterns in here. I don't know if I altered or not. This is a long time ago. And I just, you know, I got the MIDI in here, got the notes all figured out, and then I just copied and pasted it. All right, so that is how I use Ezdrummer in Reaper. It didn't go really into depth on a lot of the things, but I covered all of the different things that I use. Like I said, I'll use it for songwriting. I'll use it for coming up with a pattern. Every once in a while, I'll just go through the browser, find a pattern, and then write a bass line to it. And sometimes that turns out into a song. I use percussion. I'll use tom replacement, snare replacement, kick replacement. Just use a number of different things. My song, and I'll leave a thing up here for the playlist for my breakdown for the nature of bass solo song that I did. I used Ezdrummer in 2 different sections there. For me, it's not a music production tool. It's more of a songwriting and an kind of a percussive or enhancement element. I know there's a lot of guys who use this like really as their main drums, and hopefully some of these tips and tricks can help you figure out Ezdrummer a little bit better in Reaper and get you that song that you've been really looking for and get the drums you've been really looking for. Want to remind you, I haven't mentioned this in a while, click the link below in the description to join our Reaper Discord for the unofficial Reaper users group. Thing is really taken off. You know, there's close to 2,000 users, channels for just about everything. We have some big names in the Reaper industry. We have some plugin manufacturers in there if you need help. If you just want to talk about stuff, if you want to promote your music, videos that you've done, have questions on plugins, there's just channels for everything. Really liking that. And I'll put a cool little picture up here for that was done for us. Otherwise, click the like button. Let me know how you're using Ezdrummer 2 in Reaper, or if you're using another drum sampler program. Any of this can help. I know a lot of this was Ezdrummer 2 specific. Otherwise, until then, subscribe, hit the little bell thingy, and have yourselves an amazing week. That's not good. This hat is really comfortable. I like this. I like my new wave hat.